Here I click on new to open a new project. Here it is. And then from Manage tab, and then Visual Programming, and then Launch the Dynamo. I will talk about both Dynamo and Dynamo Player later, but right now we are comparing Visual Programming and programming, or writing a script, and why I recommend you to learn Dynamo, not programming. I mean at the beginning of your work. So anyway, I open the new project, and then from File, Import Library, and then I go to the path which I saved the file. Here, events and odds. You can find the files in bin folder, debug, and then you can find the file in the list. Let's find events.odds.dll. Here it is, events.dll. I open it, and then it will be added in the library. Here it is, class 1. I create it, and I create a split odd even as well. Check this out. Right now we got the package here. Let me add a watch here. I will talk about watch later. And then I specify the watches to show evens and odds numbers. And after that I create a code block by a double click, and then I type a bracket in this way, and then add some numbers in it. 1, 5, 8, 6, 10, 102, 206, 9, 3, 24, 20, 25, 29, 30, 28, 75, 65, and 100. So right now just consider this list, which I wanna consider it for my node. And right now just check out the evens and odds lists. So in this way we just wrote in a script to isolate evens and odds number from each other, or just define them in a specific list. Anyway, I save this and then close it. But here the point is that we can do this in Dynamo in a very simple way. But how? So just let me give you an example, and then you can differentiate between them and say which is better. So anyway, after doing this, I go to the library here. Actually, you won't have the below items in your version, but you will have the above items. So for example, in math, operators, and then I create the remainder, and then I specify x, and then I define 2 for y. And then in the list we got some 0 and 1. Let me just put these nodes over, and then I create the comparison, 2 equal signs, and then I specify x with the remainder, and then 1 for the y. Here just check out the list. True means 1 and false is 0. And then I search in the library, filter by bool mask, to filter a sequence that I will talk about it in next videos. So in this way I specify list and mask. I mean list and mask to isolate the evens and odds numbers without writing any script and knowing the language programming. So in this way we just isolated evens and odds numbers from each other. So right now, as you can see, in shows the odds numbers and out shows the even numbers. And here if I specify 0, the places of numbers would change. So in this example we just understand that we can do some projects in Dynamo so easier than the others, like isolating evens and odds numbers. But you may ask from yourselves when we can write in a script. The answer is that when you're professional in Dynamo, in a way that we can take care of complicated projects. At that time we will figure it out. For example, if you start learning Revit after Dynamo, you may figure it out that you can solve your problems here in Dynamo but not in Revit. And I want to give you another example here. Here in Dynamo we can find different kinds of ways for separation the evens and odds numbers. but I just choose the most simple way to connect the scripts to each other. So we got different ways. But as you can see here, for finding the evens and odds numbers, I just went through this path or way, as you can see, by connecting these nodes to each other. But it was not that much long, but in some project you must go through a very long route. But here, as you can see, we just did the separation with just one node. But in the another way, we just used 5 nodes. But you should consider that behind the class 1 dot split odd and even is many written codes. But we got the same thing, for example, in filter by bool mask. As I said before, all of these nodes have been compiled before. And here we are just using them. And because of this, we call it visual programming. So this was the comparison of visual programming and writing a script. So you can decide yourself to start from where, from the Dynamo or Revit or whatever. But I recommend you to start from Dynamo and get familiar with these characters, I mean graphical characters. And learning these characters or items will help you to progress in writing a script.